Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all. How to grow your yoga practice live webinar. And while I'm waiting for the channels to get the push notifications, I just want to fill you in on a couple things that we have going on here at Native Yoga Center. So every Thursday now with this class is learn how to grow your yoga practice. And this I'm going to be doing every Thursday at 12 p.m. totally free. You can sign up. I just tried to push it onto Zoom, and unfortunately the Zoom is not working, but I can see that you are here. So that is the main thing. I'm glad this part of the tech is working for me today. Also, something I want to let you become aware about, that we have 2 weeks free unlimited live stream yoga available for new students here at Native Yoga. So we have all of our public classes are live streamed, and so you can join in from anywhere in the world. And that's something that you just go to our homepage of our website and you'll be able to click on the link and find that there. The other thing I want to mention is that because we're having a lot of new students joining in via the live stream, we have on our website as well, you'll see on the homepage, nativeyogacenter.com, that we do a free 30-minute meet and greet. So if you have any specific injuries or something that would be helpful for me to know about while you're practicing at home, that I can give you pointers and tips and tricks while I'm teaching, this is an option that you can utilize so that we can have a chat and I can get to know you and you can fill me in on some details of what's going on. I'm seeing that, yay, I can hear you. Excellent. Thank you so much for chiming in. Magic and Karma, love it. Thank you. And that was the main thing I was curious. Hopefully my microphone is tuned up and working. Thank you. The other thing I want to mention is that we have our nativeyogaonline.com website, which every day when we do the live stream classes, I record them and upload them. So like if your work schedule doesn't allow for you to join in during the times that we have our regular live stream classes scheduled, you can join in via the recorded classes. So that's also an option. On that platform, I have a course called Todd's Top Yoga Tips Today, which has a couple of free videos on there, which you can also check out. And then just to mention or remind you that this live stream will be recorded and available on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, Native Yoga Center, after we're finished. And then also for those of you that if you want to try the recorded class program, there is a first month is free code. It's all caps. Again, go on the website homepage and you'll see that there. Something that I'm excited about this weekend that's happening is I'm offering a 2-hour Ashtanga Yoga donation-based workshop via the live stream as well as in studio. And this is to support the recovery community. So that's at 1:30 on Sunday. You would need to sign up ahead of time for me to get the Zoom link to you. Nonetheless, the purpose of this, I had a friend that recently, my good friend, his son just overdosed. And so I wanted to do something that can help fundraise and help people that are in recovery get into yoga classes. Another option that we have, I have a podcast channel called Native Yoga Toddcast, where every Friday I release a new episode. And that way you can hear me interview different yoga teachers and studio owners from all around the world and learn what people are doing in different places and help grow and develop your yoga practice. And cool, I'm almost done here. Thank you for being patient. And we also have a blog site called tadasanayoga.com, which you'll find on our homepage. Click on read our blog, and I can keep you up to date and posted there. We are on all the social media channels. Our handle is @Native Yoga, and you'll be able to find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. And then finally, if all that's too much and you want it easy, sign up on our email newsletter. I'll keep you posted of all of our events there. All right, cool. So we got that out of the way. And so welcome everybody. I'm so happy that you all are here. And what I want to make mention is that for this workshop series, my goal is to help you grow your yoga practice. And I feel like there's 4 main ingredients that can help your practice grow. One of them is just like if you have a seedling and you're attempting to, grow that seedling. You need to water it. You need to give it food, take care, create an environment where it can grow and be safe. And our yoga practice is much the same. One of the first main important ingredients for a healthy yoga practice is consistency. So if you can pick one practice session a week, like start off really easy, we'll build up to doing more and more. But in the beginning, practice at least once a week. The second main ingredient that is absolutely important is to continue to practice and to let it evolve over a long period of time. So if I have an issue and I want it resolved right away with yoga, it's important that we create consistency in our practice as well. The third thing that's really important for growth is you need a little motivation. So that's what I'm here for. I'm going to give you a little push, give you a little bit of energy, give you some ideas, and to help encourage you to keep going with your yoga practice, and also proper instruction. So it's important that we utilize alignment techniques that are going to help you grow in a way that you're safe and you're healthy. And the fourth main ingredient is feedback. And I really enjoy working in this medium in the online environment. What I'm finding is that because I'm not able to see you right now on your yoga mat practicing, I'm unable to give you feedback. So what I'm going to do through this session, that's why I'm designing this session, is so that you will be able to, in the chat, ask questions. After I make this presentation, then I will go check out if there's any questions or comments. And if you have some, please write them in there, and then I can answer them for you. Brilliant, right? All right, so with that being said, I just wanted to pick 2 yoga poses today that are considered fundamental asanas, and I want to show you different ways that you can practice them. And so with that being said, there's the method of working, very gently in a therapeutic fashion. And there's also more vigorous, Ashtanga style practice and or vinyasa flow practice that really can ramp it up and push it into another level. So I'm going to focus on the ones that will make it nice and easy for you. And then we'll build from here. And so there's a couple of different techniques that I'd like to show you first with the triangle pose. So in triangle, obviously you're going to start off in what's called samasthiti, which is a neutral standing position. And from here, if you step out to the right and you have your arms apart, so one of the first questions that comes up in triangle, when we turn the right foot out to come over to the right, how should my feet be aligned? And so I have this yoga rug on top of the mat to show you and the idea of having heel to heel alignment. So heel to heel alignment says it all. Basically, you have the heels lined up on a single line. Now, this makes the balance a little bit trickier because imagine if this was a balance beam and I was attempting to stand on the balance beam, my line that I'm holding on is narrow. So when you're beginning to learn triangle, if you take the back foot just a little wider than that heel to heel alignment, it will give you a little bit more stability. If you take that back heel directly behind the front heel, this will challenge your balance and also give you will work a little differently in your hamstrings. So that's one tip that I recommend, is to start to adjust your heel placement in your triangle pose. Okay, the next part of triangle is that we're attempting to bring the hand down onto the front leg. And so in the advanced or full triangle position, we would maybe come all the way down and grab either the foot or perhaps even the big right toe. But one thing that's really important, because triangle pose does put a little bit of compression on the side of the body, the side of the waistline, that what we can do is not bring the hand down very far and just place it on top of the knee or on top of the thigh. So that one of the main things that you want to start engaging in all of your yoga poses is drawing your belly in. We really want to try to keep the abdominal wall really strong. And so if we can reach up through the left arm and draw the belly in, That's going to make sure that you don't bend too much in areas in your back that maybe need a little time to adjust and get ready for this. So with that being said, you can slowly test the waters and work your hand down your shin. And now when I'm holding here, I only have 2 points of contact. My right and my left foot are on the floor. So another option, this does require that you have enough flexibility to reach a block on the floor. But if you take a yoga block and you make it where it's at the higher height of the block, okay, you set up your alignment of your heel to heel alignment. You bring the block down onto the floor. You work your hand down, and if you can land your hand onto the yoga block, you now have 3 points of contact, which will make the balance a little bit easier. And so the question here is, should I have the block on the outside edge or should I have it on the inside edge? And what's really interesting is that when we start to look at all the different yoga postures and we look at all the different traditions that utilize these poses, is that each tradition will have a different alignment technique of where to put the hand in this pose. So the broad answer is that there's a lot of options. The more narrow answer is that typically I would suggest going on the outside edge because it's going to be a little easier for you to lean down onto that hand. Okay, so while I'm holding my triangle pose, again, I'm going to try to pull the belly in and extend up through the top arm. So I'm leaning down against the right hand and stretching up through the left. Okay, so from here, of course, every time we do the right side, we're going to utilize the left side. So I'm going to turn my right foot in. I'm going to turn my left foot out. Okay, another detail that I want to point out that I didn't mention earlier is that with the alignment of the feet, in some schools or traditions, they suggest that you align your front heel with the middle of your arch on the back foot. Okay, now again, this narrows the balance beam effect. You're right down the midline of the pose. So remember that if you're having challenge with your balance, just simply widen the base a little bit and then utilize either using the block or placing the hand onto the knee and slowly, gently work the hand down. Watch what happens to my spine when I go into the triangle pose. Typically, what will happen, I can keep my spine nice and straight up and down here when I start to enter, before I enter. As I come in, you press the hips in one direction and reach with the other arm. Now, if I'm a little tight in my hamstrings, I'm going to end up bowing into a side bend with the body. And so, in essence, a part of triangle pose that we're attempting to achieve is to keep the spine relatively straight. It's hard, it's impossible to not have a little bit of a side bend going on in the low back. So that's why if you use the squeeze of your belly and you work on trying to lengthen the distance from your tailbone through the top of your head, you squeeze your belly in. This is going to help you to stabilize your lower back so that you don't overly compress onto the side that you're folding into. And the other question that often comes up, well, can I bend my left knee? And the answer is yes, you can, but we want to try to not do that. So if someone sees the pose in the triangle pose, I'm going to set my alignment where my heel is lined up with my back heel, 2 heels on the same line. And I have enough hamstring flexibility in my left leg to reach all the way down and catch a hold of the big toe. And I can maintain this and stretch up. This requires a lot of hamstring stretch. So if I try for that grip and I bend my knee, I can now grab a hold of my toe. Whereas if I try to straighten my leg, I need to grab a hold of my shin. And so there's 2 ways to go here, but the one that I think makes a lot of sense is to keep the front leg really straight and strong. Take the hand down to a level that's not too far down low so that you can maintain the stability, and focus on draw your belly in and get really strong at the core first. Over time, as your hamstring muscles stretch, you're going to be able to reach a little closer, get down, and catch a hold of the toe or the ankle. All right, let's see some other elements in the triangle pose. So Another thing I want you to observe is check out what happens with my arm going down when I go from my big toe. So one of the questions, like right now, I'm able to keep my arms reaching apart in a relative straight line from hand to hand. If I come over and down and I reach for my toe, I've lost that straight line element from my left hand. I have a little bit of an angle going this way. So that's why, in theory, if I bring my hand up a little higher onto my shin, I can now create a little bit more of a straight line effect, and I'm not doing that crunching action in my low back to achieve the movement of catching my toe. So that's another pointer. Let me just do a quick little recap of the things that I pointed out. Where to align the heels. In theory, heel to heel alignment, a little bit more challenging, heel to arch alignment, a little bit easier, wider apart so your base is stable. Should I bend my front knee or straighten it? I suggest try to keep your legs straight. Don't go so far with the hand, and then work squeezing the belly to engage the lifting up. Make sure your back feels good while you are practicing. Good. Another element is the neck rotation when we're in triangle pose. So again, I'm going to set up my triangle shape. I have my heels set up in alignment. I reach down, I catch a hold of either the shin, or if I was to go for the toe, I'm going to hold on to my shin so I can keep it nice and easy on my back. I'm going to attempt to rotate my head and turn the chin toward the right shoulder and look up toward the right hand so that I'm not hanging my head down low and I'm not necessarily reaching my head for the hand. I'm thinking about the idea of having my spine neutral and making rotation on that even axis so that the rotation is as if I was standing straight up and down and turning the head. In triangle pose, we often don't think of it as a good stretch for the neck, but it does really help to strengthen the muscles in the neck because we're holding the body out over to the side, and turning the head does require a lot of strength in your neck muscles. The other thing that I think is really important is that we are always listening to the body. So if you're practicing yoga for a long period of time, it is undoubtedly you're going to go through different aches and pains over the process of practice. And usually what happens is we get injured due to either something that happens in yoga or while we're practicing some other activity or sport or daily activity. And we think there's no way I can do yoga because of this injury that I have. And so we do need to listen to doctors and pay attention and do what they recommend. If rest is required, we need to take rest. But there is a way to modify all the poses so that it is possible to still practice. And another thing that I want to point out with triangle pose, this really takes it down a notch in terms of intensity, but you can utilize the main ingredients of the triangle if you lie down on your back. Most people don't complain about laying down in yoga class because it's so easy. So I'm going to lie down on my back and I'm going to imitate what the triangle pose can look like in a reclined position. I grab the yoga strap, and of course you can utilize like a belt or a towel or anything that you have in your house and or at your disposal. I'm going to grab a hold of the strap around my right foot, lie down onto the back. I'm going to take my right leg up like a leg raise, and I'm going to open the right leg over to the side. The strap is going to make it easier for me to adjust how high or low for my leg to go. If you lie down on the floor and you take your left arm and you imagine that you're in the triangle pose, you can kind of recreate the shape of the triangle, and you can have the hamstring stretch of the front leg. So again, I'm going to show you what it looks like standing, and I'll show you what it looks like laying down. I'm basically just going to, like, imagine I'm holding the strap. I'm going to lay on my back and kind of imitate this triangle shape while laying down. And I want to bring this up because if I am experiencing some back tension or pain or discomfort and I say, oh, I can't do yoga anymore, and especially that triangle pose, it's way too much, what you can do is figure out a way to practice the pose in a reclined position. And when we do this, we start to analyze, well, what are the poses doing? Like, what area of the body is the pose affecting? And in this case, it's a hamstring stretch and it's a side body bend. So we work on recreating that shape in a state of holding that is reasonable and appropriate. All right. Well, then from triangle pose, we have another one that's considered like its cousin or its partner pose. And let me just check in to see if I have any comments or questions. All right. So the thing that is important in twisting triangle. So the first triangle pose is called Utthita Trikonasana. Utthita means extended, and Trikonasana means triangle. So in triangle pose, we're creating 3 different triangle shapes. One is from the heel to hip to heel. So there's one triangle with the legs. There's another triangle that happens from the hand to the shoulder, shoulder to the hip, hip to the hand. And the third triangle is if I have a point from my right foot to my left hand to my left foot, creates like an outline shape of a triangle. Twisting triangle is called Parivrtta Trikonasana. Parivrtta means twisting, and Trikonasana, triangle. No, yeah, I just wanted to remember to mention that if any of you are yoga teachers and you're registered with Yoga Alliance, I am offering continuing education credit for these live stream sessions. So if you are a yoga teacher and you want to get log up your continuing education, totally free, send me an email, info@nativeyogacenter.com, and I will send you a certificate of completion of watching this session. All right, so with twisting triangle, this one is a little bit more tricky for sure. Let me just kind of show you the basic setup for the advanced version of the pose, and then I'll break it down and show you ways that you can do it easier, especially based on what health conditions you have going on. All right, so we set up our triangle. The first thing to analyze, well, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and show you what it looks like. So a twisting triangle is now we're going to cross over the midline of the body. So the opposite hand will come down to the opposite side foot. In the Ashtanga version of the twisting triangle, we're going to aim to push the hand down onto the floor on the opposite side of the right foot on the outside edge to reach up through the right arm and look up toward the right hand. The twisting triangle on the other side, you can use a nice fluid windmill motion of your arms to achieve. The right hand would come down to the outer edge of your left foot, and your left arm extends up, and you can look up towards your left hand. Of course, easier said than done, so that's why I'm going to break down a couple of the alignment details of the twisting triangle. All right, so first the feet. Usually when we analyze or study the standing poses, we'll start from the ground where we're connected to the floor and work our way up. So in twisting triangle, we're going to, again, work the heel-to-heel alignment. However, similar idea that if you have a slightly wider base, it's going to be a little easier for you to approach this. If I stand with my feet together, the space that I'm holding, standing on is narrow. It requires a little more coordination than if I separate my feet about hip width apart. I have more stability with a hip width stance than I do with a narrow stance. So with that physics in place, if I'm going to practice my twisting triangle, if I'm on the heel-to-heel alignment, I'm on that narrower line again, which will require a little more coordination. If I take my foot a little wider so that the feet are about hip width, I have a little more stability, and you also will find it a little easier to angle the hips to keep them square. When I say hips keep square, that means when I'm standing in Samasthitihi and facing forward, I'm attempting to align my hips to you, toward front. When I take my twisting triangle, I now have moved my legs in space into a shape that when I go for the twist, I'm going to attempt to square my hips to that space in front. Again, that requires quite a bit of flexibility to do that. It requires hamstring flexibility on the right leg, and it requires psoas and quadricep length on the left leg. So this is an important ingredient. What usually happens when I go for twisting triangle is that I lean into the hip and I hang from my right hip, and my right hip goes up and my left hip goes down. And what I'm going to attempt to do is square off my hips by leaning into the legs. So this is something that if you keep your hands on your hips and you fold forward over the leg, and you can get your proprioceptive awareness to feel that your hips are square to the front, all then you do is take your left hand down onto your right shin without letting your hips move off that position. And then with the arm that's lifting, you start to raise and reach up toward the ceiling. If I look down at the floor, it's going to be easier for me to balance. What throws a lot of people off is the process of turning the head. When we turn the head, our eyes are moving and we lose our equilibrium, and that's when you can lose your balance. So what we suggest is that keep your vision down on the floor where it's easy for you to hold your attention. And with your right arm, as you twist, a lot of the twisting is coming from the ability to lean down against the hand that you're working with. So I'm going to lean against the hand and reach up through the right arm. And instead of trying to reach up and just hold on to my shin, I'm going to push down into the shin with the hand and try to get the reach of the arm through the down pressure of the front arm. Hopefully that makes sense. All right, so now from a safety perspective, if I have low back issues, for example, I have herniations in my low back, I'm going to want to be careful with twisting. And so a really good way to work twisting triangle is to take 2 blocks, to set your pose up where you put the blocks on either side of the foot. I'm going to lean a little forward into the front leg to bring the hip up. And then I'm just going to slowly practice raising the right arm, in this case, because my right leg is forward, my right arm is lifting, and create a little bit of twist. So I'm going to work on very subtle twisting motion with my arm. And that way, by keeping the belly in, you won't collapse into the rotation. And if there's some low back issues or injury, you're going to be really stable and strong. So what's really important when practicing yoga, it's good to gain enthusiasm and or motivation from our fellow practitioners. Yay, awesome. Thank you for the modification of triangle on the floor. I've never seen that on the floor before. Yay, I'm glad you like that. I think that's something that's really fun, is that once we change our way of thinking, that yoga has to be done this one way, and we start to analyze what's actually going on for us and realize that I can practice yoga no matter what's going on, and how can I turn the pose into all these different shapes and places that can make it accessible. And it's so important to pay attention to the body while we're working, especially if we're going to do this for a long period of time. If we want to make our seedling die really fast, we got to yank on that seedling, pull it up, twist it, and don't take care of it, and we won't want to keep practicing for very long. But if you nurture it and you go slow and steady, it works. All right, so with this twisting triangle variation, I'm going to lean into the hands, let the hip come up. I'm just going to work on, I'm pulling my belly in. And again, I'm going to lean against that hand and raise up without twisting in the lumbar spine. On that note then, how can I practice twisting triangle in a way that is much less pressure on my back? And so similar to our idea of laying on our backs while we practice the triangle, the most simple technique is to do a supine twist. And this way you don't have excessive pressure on your spine. You're able to gauge the amount of movement with your arms on the side. And when you tip over to the side, this gives you a chance to just create a gentle rotation through your back. Of course, if we want to go a little deeper, you can extend the leg out and catch the toe. And in essence, this imitates a lot what the twisting triangle will look like while on the ground. So a general rule of thumb, if I'm wanting to monitor back tension, pressure, pain, discomfort, doing a lot of postures lying down and working the hips and the hamstrings in the back without having gravity bearing pressure down against the spine is really the best way to start. That's why we offer gentle yoga classes here. So if that's the category that you feel you're in, join in on our gentle yoga live stream, and that's going to be a good way for you to learn some of these techniques without being pushed too fast. If you want a little more push and you feel like you're just ready to go for it, try our native hour class or our Ashtanga classes. Those ones we really do go for it. All right, so let me finish up here. I'll brush up on some final details of the twisting triangle, answer any questions you guys have, and take it from here. All right, so I'm going to demonstrate the triangle. I got my heel to heel alignment. I reach out. I find a stable place to land my hand. I'm going to attempt to keep my leg straight and not bend the knee, and that'll determine how far down I go with the hand. If I do choose to go as far as the toe, I'm going to really work on drawing the belly in. If I keep my hand up near the knee, I'm going to also work on drawing my belly in. I make sure my back doesn't hurt. When I switch the alignment, I'm always pulling the belly in on the transition. That's the key. Don't let your belly relax when you make the movement from one to the other. Yoga employs bandhas, core engagement, and strength, utilizing the whole time. So you got to start to really focus on keeping your bandhas engaged while you make the movements from one side to the other. Twisting triangle, I angle my back foot in. I'm not going to keep my foot out at 90 degrees because when I would go for the twist, it's going to keep that hip way open. If I turn my foot in at 45, I have the ability to drop the hip down a little bit more. When I reach down with my hand, I'm going to feel my hips. They feel pretty level. I'm now going to try to reach up through the engagement of the down press. But if I'm modifying, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side with the modified version. A little trickier to balance with the hand on the knee, but I'm going to stay high. I'm going to pull my belly in. I'm going to work very gentle low back rotation. And then if I can hold my balance, I'm going to look up for my left hand. Yes, and I can keep going. I can spend 3 hours talking about triangle and twisting triangle, but I want to keep it in a nice, short, concise package for you guys so you get a little tidbit of information. Let me check to see if there's any comments, questions. I'll be happy to answer. If you do have any, just type them in the chat box. All right, well, it looks like I was able to answer all of your guys' questions today. And thank you so much for joining in. A couple things I want to mention that we have going on at Native Yoga Center. We have our, in January, we're offering our Native Yoga teacher training program for 200 and 300 hour. Also, I have a conscious aging workshop that's happening via live stream one Saturday per month over the next 3 months with Kelly Haas. And I have a paddleboard yoga class coming up where if you live locally, we go over here to Singer Island and I can take you out on a paddleboard and we do some easy yoga out there on the water. All right, well, remember to check out our website, nativeyogacenter.com. All of the free offerings we have and our other courses are available there. And thank you so much for joining today.